r/ask Reddit. What brings the worst out in people? Divorce proceedings. Especially with kids involved, it can turn a couple of average people into monsters. The word free in a retail or restaurant type of setting. People will trample one another, take all of the items so there aren't any for others, gorge themselves, try to sneak food out with them. It's disgusting. I was going to say that the first manager who camped product due to poor service really screwed it up for everyone. Now I have to listen to someone who wants something for free because the box has a dent in it. When a loved one dies, people get really weird in a bad way about money and stuff. I know a bunch of people who had relatives who flat out stole money and valuables after the death of a family member. It's crazy. My own family has a permanent rift because when my grandmother died, 2 of the 5 siblings cleaned out her accounts. Hell, they don't even have to be dead. When my great-grandmother moved from her apartment to a nursing home, some of her children and grandkids helped her pack up her apartment, by which I mean it was a full-on feeding frenzy of theft. She was an 87-year-old woman who had been widowed for about 50 years at that point, so she certainly wasn't wealthy. But some of those people would have ripped down the wallpaper if they thought they could have sold it. Stress. Most of us are capable of being decent human beings who make a positive contribution to society. You add stress into the mix and people start to crack. Financial stress, relationship stress, work stress. It doesn't matter. When our focus is pulled into simply surviving and staying afloat, our ability to empathize or provide support to others greatly diminishes. I think this is tied in with the low morale we are all experiencing right now. We are all unbelievably stressed. I've seen some of the nicest people completely snap and act shockingly because they just can't take the pressure anymore. Add lack of sleep and you get a human grenade. You don't know where or how, but they're going to go off. Traffic. Inheritances. I've seen both my family and friends' families absolutely ripped apart after someone dies and another family member doesn't feel they've received their share, or that the will was unfair, or that property mysteriously goes missing before the estate is settled. Awful, awful stuff. I think the worst is my friend's dad and his sister haven't spoken for over 30 years due to a squabble over their mother's will. 30 years. The kicker is that they're both quite well off on their own. Friend's dad is a very successful trial lawyer and friend's aunt married a successful doctor. This wasn't money either of them ever actually needed, but they've not had a relationship for decades because of it. Sad. My aunt pulled some dirty shit on my grandmother right before she died and somehow got her to sign over all of the over $100,000 inheritance solely to my aunt. This never would have happened without some form of serious emotional manipulation blackmail, because my aunt is an addict and my grandmother refused to enable her monetarily while she was living. My mom died not even 2 years later, so I really could have used that inheritance. She and her husband got away doing the same exact thing to her brother-in-law when her father-in-law passed. And since none of us had the money to fight her, none of us could. The law didn't care. We obviously don't speak to that part of the family anymore. Hunger can make people do things they never thought they were capable of doing. It can drive your mind out of control. This is why the food bank is my favorite charity to give to. I've never experienced true food insecurity, but I've been moderately hungry from time to time and notice how terrible everything becomes, from your mood to the ability to function. How can anyone hope to improve their situation in life with that kind of constant debuff? Desperation. Absolutely this, especially these days when people are stressed to death and losing their income, causes people to take drastic measures they wouldn't normally even consider. Also addicts to support their habit. Unprocessed trauma from childhood. As someone that is struggling with mental health, I'm only now beginning to understand why I do a lot of what I do. When our needs for love and acceptance aren't met, we seek out soothing behaviors that numb the pain. It's really easy to end up in midlife with no real idea what it means to be happy and feeling no connection to others. As you begin to work on your issues, you find that the soothing behaviors are no longer as soothing because you know why you're doing it. So, you're stuck with the emptiness that you've always felt and no way to get out of the feeling. I was looking for this answer. When something triggers you and reminds you of past trauma, that brings out the absolute worst in you, because you panic and it's hard to control. When you were told to wait 20 minutes and it's now been 21 minutes and you are still waiting. If I ever have to give a wait time, I usually overestimate the time. They will be happy if it takes less time but pissed if it's 1 minute more than what was quoted. Anonymity. Putting a mask on. Being on the internet, or otherwise concealing one's identity. People do some very ducked up things when they know they won't be held accountable. Power. Almost every dictatorship ever. They don't want to lose their power. Black Friday. Ah yes, the only day of the year you can see a Karen curb stomp a kid over a PS5. I spent 10 years in retail. I absolutely refuse to step out my front door on Black Friday for anything short of a medical emergency. We have leftovers and running water, so we can survive 24 hours. Scarcity. Ugh. This 100%. It's bad enough with concert ticket resellers, but the scumbags will do it with anything. There's a new Lego bonsai tree set my girlfriend wants and it's her birthday soon. It's sold out everywhere, but there are 100s of them on eBay at inflated prices. The top one has 19 sold on it. Travel. To know what a person is really like, go traveling with them. Funerals. All the heightened emotions make people irrational. Any buried family drama comes out at the worst possible time. I've been caught in the middle of it before. I didn't even know the deceased. I was there supporting my friend who had lost her mother. Someone decided this was the time to air a 20-year-old grudge as my friend walked by. My friend was so caught off guard by the accusation she was speechless. I told this crazy lady this wasn't the time or the place for this conversation, so she turned on me. Next thing I knew, some other family member was violently yanking her out of the room. I guess it could have been worse. But why did you have to make a scene at a funeral? My great grandmother died a few years back and my aunt told my other aunt's son that he looked handsome and that she was excited for him to start at insert SEC school here at the reception, and he decided to rip absolute ass in front of her in response. Money. The moment money is involved, a person's true nature comes out, and most of the time it won't be pretty. This reminds me of all the people who lost their money due to lotteries because so many people thought they deserved some of it till the actual winner had nothing left. League of Legends. Amen. Something about that game makes people go apeshit. Not being accepted by other people. Social contact and validation is no different from food or water. Yes, people can starve on validation too. That's why simple things like greeting strangers in the street or always saying thank you are so critically important. People get real stupid when it comes to their kids. The my baby can do no wrong attitude when your child is ducking shit up needs to stop. Thinking they're being cheated. It almost makes me want to stop doing games in class because if there's two teams, both teams always complain that the other team has some sort of unfair advantage. In reality, neither team understands the true length of a minute and thinks they're being cheated on time. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.